To all those people watching, I like to remind everyone that this video is not made for kids. It's for older fans and adults. Enjoy the fucking video! Donald and Douglas were very happy. Sir Charles Topham had decided to keep the both of them after their hard work in the snow. They were rewarded with the colour blue with red stripes, and were very pleased not to have parted from each other. The other engines were pleased, but not Thomas. He was still cross with Douglas. When the twins were trying to prove to Sir Charles their usefulness, Douglas accidentally shunted Thomas's special coach in a siding with the others after Gordon was done with a wild nor'wester. When Thomas arrived at Titmouth, he came fussing in the yard. "Where's my coach?" "Coach?" asked Donald. "What coach?" "My special coach that Gordon brings for me. It's gone. I must find it." And he bustled away. Douglas suddenly remembered that he had stored the special coach with the others. Meanwhile, the passengers were complaining to Sir Charles about their abandonment, and to get out of trouble, Douglas's driver had decided to change tenders. Donald took Douglas's tender with his goods train, and Donald had Douglas's still uncoupled. However, that trick didn't fool Sir Charles. Meanwhile, Thomas looked everywhere for his special coach until he found it at last. Sorry, apologized Douglas meekly, but Thomas just hissed steam and said, "I'm late!" Thomas is a very punctual engine, and being late to him means trying to make up the time to please the passengers and Sir Charles. So, every afternoon Thomas makes sure that Douglas doesn't leave his special coach behind. "I'm watching you," he seethed. "Remember, you placed my special coach on the bay platform. Any slip-up, and I'll tell Sir Charles so fast that you and Donald wouldn't have time to change tenders again." "Ugh, I get it," murmured Douglas crossly. He kept on keeping an eye on Douglas for days upon days upon days, and Douglas had had enough. "Remember, you placed a special coach on the bay platform. I get it. I did one mistake, which was not done on purpose, mind you, and you're going on like your big brother or something." "It's finally good to see you not messing up with rolling stock," said Thomas. "What with your history with this coach and that spiteful brake ban." Douglas hissed steam angrily at Thomas's snide remark, and before he could say anything else, the guard blew his whistle and Thomas puffed away. What an ignorant little dauber! Had no one told him why I left that coach with the others? He hissed away to the harbour, shunting trucks ready for his goods train. As he shunted his trucks, Percy arrived with a goods train from Farquhar.
Hello, Douglas, he peeped. What's the matter?
Ugh, it's our boy puffball Thomas, he grouched, and he explained what Thomas was doing and saying to him earlier.
I understand, sighed Percy sympathetically. Thomas is a punctual engine and wants everyone to think that the branch line is the most important part of the railway. He's not a bad engine, but he can get on your nerves sometimes. But he had his fair share to mess-ups too. There was a time where he had left his guard behind, and another time he had fish in his boiler and got stuck in the snow and Terence had to pull him out.
Douglas laughed. Hey, that cheered me up. Next time I see her, I'll mention those incidents to him to keep his trap shut. And Douglas carried on with his shunting. But the next day, Sir Charles needed the twins for something urgent.
There have been some snowdrifts along the main line, and I need you two to help to plough it.
Of course, sir, replied the twins. But, what about the shunting?
Don't worry, Duck will look after it while you're away.
So the twins made their way to the drifts. The day had passed and the twins still hadn't arrived back from their snowplow duties. Services resumed for the main line thanks to the twins clearing it, and Gordon puffed in with a wild nor'wester. Duck shunted the train, and placed a special coach in the bay platform. The coach waited and waited, but Thomas hadn't shown up. Where could he be? Asked Duck. Just then they heard a familiar whistle echoing around the yard. Thomas panted into the station, feeling very cross and very tired. Bothersome snow, he grouched, but there was no time to rest. He collected the coach and placed it behind Annie and Clarabelle. Come on, he called to the passengers. Get in quickly, please. We're late. So the people got in, and the yard manager coupled Thomas to Annie. The guard blew his whistle, and the little blue tank engine puffed quickly away. But with all the rush caused by Thomas, there was one thing he left behind. The special coach! The passengers all called out to him, but Thomas was well out of earshot. Annie and Clarabelle tried to tell Thomas what had happened, but Thomas was more focused on trying to make up for lost time. Let's go, we must make time, he puffed. Later, Donald and Douglas returned from clearing the main line. They were very tired and were looking forward to a rest. They saw the commotion of Thomas's passengers at the station. The passengers scrambled around Sir Charles like angry bees.
What kind of a railway you're running here, Topham?
First the sidings are now left behind by our engine. It's disgraceful. I want my money back, they chattered. They continued their complaining until Douglas blew his whistle. I could take you, he said once the passengers were quiet.
Splendid idea, Douglas.
But don't you want to rest after clearing the snow? Asked Sir Charles. Yes, sir. If these young passengers want an engine to take them, then take them I shall. Besides, this will show Thomas about messing with the rolling stock. What's this about, Thomas? And as the passengers were climbing aboard,
Douglas told Sir Charles about the tension between him and Thomas. After that, Douglas puffed away with Thomas's special coach. He took the passengers to each of their stations, and they said thank you to Douglas. Meanwhile, Thomas arrived at the top station. Made it, he puffed, and with only a minute to spare. He shunted his 2 coaches and went to have a rest. But then... What's he doing here? And with that coach? We tried to tell you, Thomas. But before Annie and Clarabel could even finish, Thomas made his way towards the station. And what are you doing here? He fumed. Delivering your passengers from your special coach. What nonsense, spluttered Thomas. I had my special coach with me behind Clarabel since leaving for Tidmouth. No, Thomas, came a stern-sounding voice. You didn't. It was Sir Charles Topham Hatt, who was on Douglas's train. I had so many passengers complaining about you leaving them behind. Also, I've heard from Douglas that you made a snide remark about him handling our rolling stock, and while true that Douglas did not handle them well, they were just accidents, Thomas. I understand that you want to run on time since that whole missing coach incident, but that doesn't mean that you have to be rude to Douglas. Sorry, sir, sighed Thomas. I won't be rude to Douglas again, sir. That's better, and I expect that from you as well in future. And he walked away to the coach. Thanks for bringing my passengers, Douglas. No problem, Thomas. I was wondering, Douglas, why did you accidentally place my special coach with the others? Hey, I've been waiting for you to ask that, Thomas, he said, and then he told him about the awful thought about parting from his brother to Scotland. Be like what would happen if you and your lovely coaches were forced to part ways. Thomas thought of the situation, and he felt sad about parting from Annie and Clarabel, never to be seen nor heard from again. He felt awful. If I had known that, I would have been easier on you. I'm sorry, Douglas. Well, it's all in the past now. Now me and Donnie are one of the Fat Controller's engines, and we're proud of it. Thomas smiled, and the two became friends. Thomas appreciates Douglas now, and would often whistle hello to him whenever they saw each other. But there are still times when Thomas can show his scrapes. One day, Sir Charles received a telephone call from the Farquhar station master's house. On the other end, he did not sound very pleased. He came to the yard and told the twins to go to Farquhar. Thomas had crashed into the station master's house. Please go and rescue him and take him to his shed. I need to have a word with him. Aye, sir, chimed the twins, and off they went.